Welcome to NFL Chaos with Jeremy. This is Wacky Wednesday. I am bringing the chaos, and we have a very special guest tonight, along with my co-host, and I'll introduce them right after this. I would regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
One of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Aquanu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold? Or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today, you can't get rid of him.
Right, it's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Okay, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
You know, what would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.
All right, I never get tired of that. Anyway, without further ado, well, a little bit further ado, because I want to test something. There's something new that came on StreamYard, so I'm going to test it right now. I'm going to give myself some background music as I make this introduction. Please welcome my esteemed, awesome co-host, Watch2K99, aka Adam. And because the music's playing anyway, and it's on a loop. Welcome my guest, the LA Ram YouTube content provider, PayoTime.
Yeah, let's go.
Showtime! Let's do this.
Oh. What is up, gentlemen?
Hello.
How are we doing, West Coast?
The West Coast is actually beautiful. We're hitting low 70s during the day. We have cold mornings and cold nights, and then like the hot days. That's what it's like until we get closer to the summer. Then it's going to get incredibly hot and then tolerable at night.
Well, it depends on your definition of cold, I would say. You got a Canadian, down below here, and a guy who lived almost his entire life in the north. So a cold day. Shoot, it was 50 degrees today, and for me, that's tanning weather. You kidding?
Yeah, How we doing, PayoTime?
I'm doing good. I'm good. Doing so good. Thank you. It is an honor to be on one of my favorite shows on YouTube, Wacky Wednesdays, with NFL Chaos with Jeremy and Adam. And we are here in Canada, where I live near Toronto. We are getting out of our stormy season. The snow's starting to melt a little bit, but it's still here. And it's kind of that crispy snow that if you get hit, that's going to send you to the principal's office if someone threw that snowball.
I love it. Let's say hello to some people in the chat.
Cool people.
Jay Cole is in the house. Jay Cole will be with me on Friday. We were just joking about it before on another call. I was joking around how I'm going to become most famous for being the guy that put Jay Cole on a live stream. We got pure adrenaline fantasy sports. That is the Postman John Post, and he is the reason me and PayoTime know each other. He introduced us, so always appreciate that. We got Nathan Colgrove, great loyal listener who's been here just like lately, just all the time supporting. Gotta love that. Jets mess in the house. I recently broke his heart when I told him I was going on a diet. And we got back on the show again. He returns for a second time. I thought he had disappeared. Return of the Jedi, Rusty Spooner. What is up, my friend?
Wow, that's a great name.
Rusty is one of my secret source sauces. I'm going to call him one of my secret sauces for finding sleeper guys in this upcoming draft. So he finds what I call, I actually have a segment you probably saw it on the show, Rusty's Diamonds, and that is because of Rusty Spooner. And it's branched out. I'm always gonna look at players he recommends, but sometimes we look at other players too. But the whole segment would never have happened without him. So I'll always appreciate Rusty for that. And keep the names coming, Rusty, when we get up to those segments, and we'll keep doing it. And then we got my friend Tom Bon Jovi. He rides in on his steel horse. He's wanted, dead or alive. I'll never do that as well as Frankie.
He gives love a bad name, though. That's the thing.
Yes. So what are you saying, John? My brother John. Good night. All right. See, they're all talking to each other. My chat loves each other. It's all just love in our chat. I fell in love with 3 girls today at work.
Wow. How many of them have already slapped restraining orders on you? That's what I want to know.
That was good, man. That was really good. Oh, man. So what is he saying? Jeremy, you're awesome, fam. You're awesome, fam. You're the creator of Jets fam. That the whole term Jets fam with the fist and everything, that's all Rusty. He's an innovator. He's an innovator. Anyway, let me tell you why do I have this LA Ram content provider on tonight? What was the idea that brewed through my head when I met him months and months ago? I had this revelation that in 2020, when we played the Rams and we beat them, okay, I thought we were the angriest fan base in the world, and more than angry, I thought we were the most depressed, because as most of you remember, I didn't know about Zach Wilson at all. I knew very little about him. I mean, we were just on this Lawrence train, right? We were just like, we got to get the number 1 pick. We got to get Trevor Lawrence. That was it. And I remember looking at my wife after that game and saying, honey, we're just destined to never win, because we find ways to make sure we're never going to win. Why would we come out here and beat this team? How could this happen to us? And I thought after the Raiders game, the miracle Raiders game where they came back and beat us I thought we were good. I said, there's no way we're going to compete with the Rams. This is an easy, breathe easy loss. And then I realized, what was PayoTime thinking? So PayoTime, I'll let you take over. Did you think, or even take a second on that day when it was happening, did you even imagine it across your mind that Jet fans were just as upset and angry as you were?
Oh, I was well aware of how angry Jets fans were. I think back to that game, and so I'll be honest with you. In preparation for this episode tonight, I was like, okay, I'm going to do something I thought I would never do. I rewatched the highlights of that game, and I couldn't make it all the way through in one go. I had to pause it and just Jared Goff's interception still just ticks me off of how can you throw that ball directly to the Jets linebacker? Anyway, I definitely remember when the Jets beat the Rams that game. I was livid, and so a little context here. My YouTube channel, the first video I ever posted that was anything Rams related was a reaction to the Jets loss. And I was done with Jared Goff. And I was someone who defended Jared Goff for a long time. But for whatever reason, that was my breaking point where I was like, I know we're probably stuck with him for at least one more year because of his contract. Thankfully, I was wrong. But I was so done. I was like, everything has to work perfect for this guy. And if you rewatch that game, the Rams literally had every opportunity. The Jets tried to give them the chance to win that game. There was in that fourth quarter, the Rams scored 10 points. The Jets scored 0. And the Rams literally had 4 chances to get a field goal to tie it or a touchdown to win it. And there were so many times you thought, okay, it's going to happen. And they had a really big punt return that got them into almost field goal range. And then Like it just there's so many frustrating things about that game, and I see John post saying highlights, more like low lights. Yeah, you're right. And but when that game happened, it was so interesting because you have all the Ram fans that are ticked off because it probably blew our shot at the division title that year from Seattle. And then you had all the Jets fans that were ticked off because it probably means they lost out on, well, it did mean they lost out on Trevor Lawrence. And it was just like, no one was happy with the outcome of that game.
Well, I want to share something with the fans just so they understand what that was like for you.
Oh no.
And I think that they're really going to appreciate this a lot more, seeing it for themselves, because even though I wasn't able to record my reaction, and I'll always regret it, we do have your reaction. And here we go.
Francisco to Paris.
Oh, that's an ad.
Dollars.
You can skip it. I don't need the ad revenue. It's okay. Don't worry. All this.
Say thank you to all of the people that have messaged,
He looks so wasted.
supported me,
Completely sober.
whatever it is that was today. I'm good now. I went out and I shoveled the driveway. There was a lot of snow.
I was so mad.
She was so supportive. Thank you. And I just
We broke it up. Literally.
for everyone who reached out because the LA Rams lost to the New York Jets. Yeah, it happened. It was terrible. Everything. There's moments of hope. I have come to the realization we need to move on from Goff. Yeah, it's done. Jared Goff. The only way I can ever move forward with him as my quarterback comfortably is if he wins the Super Bowl. That's the only redeemable thing. He has no grit. If things are not working perfectly, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work. He is a great guy, great person, super nice. I'm so thankful for that. Bless him for it. However, his margin of error is just so low to be a consistent NFL quarterback. And when I see the team around him, the defense, the receivers, the O-line, like this team just seems to have everything in order. And when all 5 of your losses in the season can be pinned on you, the quarterback, you have to. It's time to move on. It is time for the Rams to move on from Jared Goff. This loss absolutely was the breaking point for me. I have defended him to an extent. I've always said there's room for criticism, but there's worse quarterbacks in the league. Absolutely.
I believe this is why they decided to trade him. At this point,
There were other games before then, but yeah, this
Stinking Jets.
I was waiting for a jet shot. There it was.
sorry, no offense. Sorry,
You're
folks.
welcome for possibly keeping Trevor Lawrence out of your division. But yeah, I'm done. Jared Goff, I'm done. I'm done. This is the moment I was done with Jared Goff. Thank you.
thank you. I love the thank you. The thank you is the best.
Oh yeah, that was my first. Wow, I haven't rewatched that in a long time, and wow, I've come a long way. Oh, I forgot I did this.
Okay. So what's really funny about this is that this is probably the only time I've seen you do this. When I looked through, you never did it again after this. He did a second reaction.
Yeah.
3 days later.
It was just haunted
So
me.
by now you had perspective. You felt, I'm sure you calmed down. We're feeling more level-headed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I look forward to this.
Let's just see how this goes.
Hey everyone, it's been a tough couple of days. Everybody freaking out about the Jets loss and everything. I'd like to say I'm over it, and I am. But what's just annoying is people, being like, oh, you ruined it for the Jets. Well, the Jets ruined it for themselves. Okay, whatever. I don't care about the Jets. They sure they're good people and stuff like that, but Yeah, I just want the Rams to destroy your team. Okay, I'm sorry. And to get beat by them was an incredibly humbling experience. And yeah, with a team with Super Bowl aspirations, there's absolutely some concerns. But anyway, we got to move on. This next week we got Seattle. This is for the division. Huge game. I'm optimistic that Sean McVay will get the Rams to ready for a good game. They're known for good bounce back performances, and so I hope after that, I would love to lay a bit of a beat down on the Scumhawks.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Thank you for watching this video and supporting the Rams, and let's go get them. Go Rams. Woo-hoo! Horns up.
See, he came back. You made a comeback. You got you found your mojo again.
Yeah.
It only
I
took
could
3
see how
days.
it would take a few days to get over losing to our team. So yeah, that's completely understandable.
That year, you guys have turned a corner.
Yeah. I like the beginning of it. It felt like a Make-A-Wish video. It's I want to thank everybody for reaching out to me. I want to thank you for all your support. I will accept gifts. I will accept donations.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Young
Just
PayoTime. Oh, man.
It's awesome. What was cool is at the end of that first video, something came on that says how to build a Super Bowl roster. A video you did more recently. And what's interesting about that is that that's one of the topics we want to talk to you about. So we're sitting here and we're talking about who's more angry. We're talking about that fateful day. It's funny, like before we get started with that and talk about the experience of watching the Rams. And I want to go back to before even the first Super Bowl loss, when it all really started, as you got your new coach, as you got Peyton, not Peyton, I'm sorry. Just everything that happened. Like, what was the record of the team? Because I forget, like, how bad was the team before this whole run started with, before Goff, before everything. But before we do that, I wanted to say, that it's interesting that we all recovered so well, because since that video, you've won a Super Bowl. So none of it matters. You wouldn't change anything. You don't change anything that led up to now. You don't change anything because it led up to the right place. And I think that Jet fans, not all, but there are a lot of Jet fans now that are happy that we have Zach Wilson. And we're okay with it. We don't feel anymore that we're not sitting there saying we should have Trevor Lawrence. I don't think we're really saying that, and I don't think we're going to know for sure whether we feel that way. Maybe even I don't even know if that's going to be resolved next year. It could be 3 or 4 years before we're able to make a determination if we're happy or not that we ended up with Zach Wilson. But we're certainly feeling a lot better than we did that day before we even knew anything about Zach Wilson. So do you agree with that? Would you change the outcome of that game, knowing it could change everything? You change, like sliding windows, right? You just sliding doors. I mean, you change one little thing and it could affect everything.
See what did okay, and again, like I'm still over the moon. The Rams won the Super Bowl this year. I'll be that way till at least September, if not for an extra 5 years, somewhere in there. 8 months to 5 years, then I'll probably start to peak off a little bit. But I think back to that game, and the Rams that year literally had one of the best defenses in our history. They were playing lights out. They were the number one defense by a large margin. And we had Jalen Ramsey and Darius Williams both locking it down. And I remember people saying, Darius Williams, if he was on another team, he would be the number one corner. And he regressed a little bit this year, but that particular year, he was just he was locking down everybody, and no one was throwing on this Rams defense. And I remember thinking, okay, if we get in the playoffs, and as long as we play the game of run the ball effectively and play good defense, then you can steal that can take you far in the playoffs. We've seen that before. And I remember thinking, okay, as long as we'll beat the Jets, and then we have the showdown with Seattle for the division. And at the time, the Rams were in the driver's seat to get the division, but that loss to the Jets just it made it so that if we lost to Seattle, we lost the division pretty much.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that I was just so ticked because we had lost the division, and then now in retrospect, we still beat Seattle in the playoffs that year, which was pretty cool. And then we lost to the Packers, obviously there. And there's still the awkward scenario about the benching of Jared Goff because of his thumb, but he was still the backup to John Wolford. And I remember at the end of that season getting prepared, like, okay, we are going to have a quarterback competition between John Wolford, Jared Goff, and maybe they bring in, another kind of journeyman quarterback of some kind. And then the Stafford trade happened on January 31st before the Super Bowl. And I just was like, oh, okay, we can do this. Okay, cool. And, I love the fact that it was the first move of the offseason last year. And it was definitely the biggest move. And it's a large reason why the Rams were able to win the Super Bowl.
Now, did you see the Stafford trade coming, or was it completely out of left field?
I did not see it coming. I know there's some Ram fans out there that will say like, "Oh yeah, I totally saw it coming." No, the reality is, thank you, put me in the corner. Thank you. The reality is there was so much chatter about the Goff contract, and it was just I remember seeing things and reading articles of it being untradeable. And Goff didn't have a no trade clause. That was the only thing in it that made you think he could be traded. But the reality is you needed a team that was willing to take on his contract. And it was, you think, okay, he's a former number 1 overall pick. He was 26 years old at the time. And you're like, okay, like who's going to trade? And if that trade was going to happen, you felt it was going to be kind of like a Brock Osweiler situation where like a team trades a pick to get rid of him with him, which the Rams did do. I did not see it coming. And when it happened, I was completely blindsided. I remember hearing that Matt Stafford was available, but the Rams weren't necessarily a team that was linked to him. And then when we traded, 2 first-round picks and Goff and a third-round pick to get Stafford, I remember all the people hating on the Rams saying, "Oh, Rams got fleeced. The Rams already lost this trade." I remember people saying like, "There's an argument that Goff is better than Stafford if you look at like his wins and losses." And I'm like, okay, first off, you haven't been watching Jared Goff if you think that. But yeah, like it was exciting and like for being a Rams YouTuber, they're a really fun team to cover because they do make these big flashy moves that generate lots of buzz.
Yeah, sure. And now it's getting kind of cool because it's starting to become this LA type thing. They're starting to show like Hollywood people in the crowd and kind of like with the Lakers, they're starting to, I think it took some time, like, since football returned to that city, and now with them being so competitive and obviously doing so well, it's like they are slowly becoming part of the LA culture. Like I kind of felt like, just like what the Chargers are now, that they started what the Chargers are now. I mean, I know it was a homecoming, so they had the old timer fans, but it took some time to really, I at least personally, I felt that it's starting to happen in the last few years, like where you see the celebrities there and it's becoming they're really starting to blend in and become part of LA, like the Dodgers and like the Lakers,
Yeah, and like the reality is, like the Rams fan base, Ramley, as a lot of us like to say, we get criticized a lot for being, one of the smaller fan bases for having a team in such a big market. But the reality is, our franchise moved from Cleveland to LA, and then from LA to St. Louis, which distanced a lot of fans, and they lost a lot from doing that. And then when they moved them back to LA, that also distanced a lot of fans. But yeah, like you said, it's gonna, it takes those years of kids going to the football game with their parents to, build up that fandom. And, I hope the team is good for years to come, obviously. And that, people can join the Ramley if you haven't picked a team already.
I like some of the things you do. Like, like we have our JETS Jets. We have our negativity, of course, and the spring is our Super Bowl kind of thing. But what I like is I like the Who's House.
Who's House? Rams. Yeah.
I like that. And I like the thing you started, like, and I took it. I started doing it with you, and you in friendship and support. I got myself peanut butter cups, and every time Cooper Cup did something big, I eat a peanut butter cup. I thought that was a cool thing.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that actually, like, it surprises me. Like, I've seen other Rams fans post about that on Twitter, and I like to take a little credit that started on my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Peanut butter cups, man. That's gonna be all you. Anybody who denies it's crazy.
My only goal is I want Cooper Cup to get a sponsorship deal with Reese's Pieces butter cups.
Well, Jeremy, now that you're on a diet, I think now it's like fruit salad cups.
Exactly. My wife gets the peanut butter cups because they're gluten free. So
there you go.
There's a couple left in the fridge, and I think they became hers until, because it's gonna be a while before I have a cheat day. I always start a diet with 30 days, a month before a cheat day. So, so finally gonna get to this chat. Rusty says my all-time favorite NFL player was Deacon motherfucking Jones.
Yeah.
Mafe, Boye Mafe is talking about, who's actually put up a great showing in the Senior Bowl. Reminds me of his attitude. Been waiting for a guy like him. So Boye Mafe was not too long ago a 4th, 5th round projection. He was hidden kind of in the back. Then he worked his way up. I noticed him come up more of a 3rd, 4th rounder. You start seeing him in more people's, come up depending on the website. And then he had that Senior Bowl, and he really got into the eyes of Jet fans. And then Spooner, I think Rusty was tooting his horn a little bit before that even. And there's another guy, Jeff Gunter, that I know Rusty likes. But I don't know if you're familiar with Boye, but are you familiar with Deacon Jones?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, like if you're a Rams fan and you look at like the history of the Rams, they have some fantastic players, and Deacon Jones is like one of those players that you watch highlights, and this guy was scary. Like he's one of those guys that, like, if you met in real life and you had to like survive a tackle from him and you get like, $1,000 or $1 million or something like that, you question it. You're like, is it worth getting hit by Deacon Jones for $1 million? I don't know, because like my life. But he was a fantastic player to watch.
And he was the one who came up with the term sacking the quarterback, as I recall.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Deacon Jones. He was the one. It's a shame NFL sacks were not really counted as an official stat till 1982. Now you can go to different websites and there's, adjusted sort of projected numbers based on what would these guys have had in the 60s and the 70s. But, when you not only play the game that well, but you actually change the lingo, you change the stats of the game, you've made quite the impact.
Well, they call it the Deacon Jones Award to the sack leader every year for a reason.
And what you have to remember about all those guys, Deacon Jones, and then we talk about our sack exchange, Klecko and Gastineau, we make the point about them, but we have to make the point about Deacon Jones. They didn't pass as much back then.
Yeah.
So so it's even more impressive when you look at those stats of what it would have been. I remember back in the early 80s, it was really, there was some passing teams. I'm not saying they didn't pass it all, but like not nearly as much. And then you had your Dan Fouts, San Diego Chargers. That was like the freak team that just passed all the time, short passes to Winslow, to Jefferson, this guy. But overall, most teams ran a bigger percentage of the time. And then you go back to Deacon Jones, it's like, then it was really like that, right? Those were the days where a lot of teams would just grind and run the ball, and you didn't have quarterbacks dropping back, whatever it is, 35 to 45 times a game. So it is a really interesting thing to think about, what those guys could have been like in today's time, and now I think it's becoming harder again. Although TJ Watt doesn't seem to make it look hard, but a lot of quarterbacks are trying to get, like it's becoming a popular thing, like to, get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. So if quarterbacks start succeeding at that, it's going to be really hard to imagine that many people getting a lot of sacks. But moving along, if anybody has any questions in the chat, feel free to ask. We'll get to them. So if you have any questions as we talk about the topic of the Rams and how they built their Super Bowl team, which is what we're moving on to, I'll definitely put them up there for Payo to answer. If you want to ask him anything, questions about how he became a fan, look, I'm giving them cues, but if you're just curious about any of that, or, feel free to ask questions. I want to ask, Payo, if you could take us back to, and I'm connecting this with the Jets because I have a lot of people say, what does this got to do with the Jets? It has everything to do with the Jets because here we are in, I would say, the second real year of the rebuild. People say, we've been in a rebuild for 20 years. No, we haven't. We got our new quarterback. We got our new coach. That's the beginning of the rebuild, right? We stripped our team down. We cut everybody except 5 guys pretty much. So we started with Bryce Hall, Becton. So that's what Joe Douglas did with Gase before they got rid of Gase. They did bring in Becton. They did bring in Bryce Hall, a couple other guys. But for the most part, they cut a lot of everybody else. A lot of other people are gone. And last year was the first big step of a rebuild, right? Bringing in Saleh, bringing in the new cultures, bringing in 2 new schemes, defensive and offensive scheme, drafting a lot of guys, building up capital like with the Jamal Adams trade and taking advantage of that and building up and starting rookies. We had 5-6 rookies contributing last year. And now here we go into the second year with all this free agent money and a bunch of picks. So we're in year 2 of this, what I'd say, I guess 4 to 5 year plan, I'm guessing. But a lot of Jet fans don't want that. Like they're saying, no, they expect to make the playoffs this year. They want, or definitely Super Bowl contenders by 23, season. Tell me about the Rams. Like bring me back to where they were before all this started, even before the golf pick, right when you got this new coach.
I'll gladly do it, but I see a question for me from Dom C that I'd love to quickly answer. Sure. So shout out Dom and thank you for the question. Austin Corbett. So we traded for him. He was drafted by the Browns, and then we traded for him, and he's played well. He has had a couple of games where he didn't play well. But he was in competition to be our starting center in the offseason, but they swung him over to play guard, and I think that was a good move. But he is someone that, like, if our main center, Brian Allen, went down, and then we had Blake Shelton who kind of backed him up, but Corbett would be in that mix to kind of be the backup center. But yeah, he's a good old lineman. He likes that right guard spot, and there is a very good chance that the Jets or someone else sign him because I feel like the Rams will. We have to lose some pieces to free agency, and I think Corbett might be one of those pieces.
All right. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah.
Quick little snip from Nathan. That trade definitely looks better.
Hey, that was one of the reasons I love the Jets.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So it's definitely, if you go back in the last 15 years, and I'm sure anybody that knows about football, that's not going to just be a Jets hater about it, right? Like bias, but honestly looks at that trade. And we don't even know how it's going to pan out completely yet, right? Because AVT is just getting started as an offensive guard, and the Jets still have the number 10 pick this year. We don't know if they're going to hit or not on that pick, but it wouldn't be surprising for me in 10 years from now if they look back, the last 25 years, maybe easily, but I don't know maybe number 1, but definitely one of the top 5 mentioned if they said the 5 biggest fleeces in the NFL. I think it has a very good chance in 10, 15 years to be looked upon as a top 5 fleecing because and people don't even realize the conditions of that trade. Jamal Adams was already bad-mouthing the entire Jets organization. He was causing all kinds of issues and problems. So that's usually the situation or the time that you get fleeced, right? When everyone knows you have to get rid of them. And yet they managed to fleece Seattle. It's just unbelievable to me.
And I can still tell you exactly where I was driving my car on 64 East in Hampton, Virginia, going across the tunnel into Norfolk. It was, I believe, a Saturday morning when I got the tweet that Brian Costello put out that the Jets, he was the one who broke it, saying that the trade had happened. Even up until that moment, I didn't really think the Jets were going to trade Jamal Adams. I just felt he was the best player on the team. I didn't think they would actually do it. And when I saw 2 first-round picks, I said, can we give Joe Douglas a 10-year extension right now? To this day, I still don't even know if it's real. It was that good. But then we've seen what he's done with the Sam Darnold trade, the Chris Herndon trade. Man, I just wish we could have this kind of success in free agency.
Yeah. Don't forget the trade to get LDT.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was a sweet one.
I don't know if you
Actually,
know.
I'd like to
We
throw a
did-
question out. Yeah.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
I've got a question for Payo.
Cool.
So I want to talk about Cam Akers a little bit because he had a Achilles injury.
Yeah.
And as Jets fans, we have become very well versed in Achilles injuries over the last year. So, and Carl Lawson being our most notable one, this is a guy who we are counting on to come back to be a dominant force, the player that we were seeing at the beginning of the preseason and in practice. So tell me a little bit about Akers, about what his prognosis was when he was expected to come back. He ultimately did come back. And what can Jets fans take from that injury that he had?
Yeah, so he tore his Achilles in August, and I remember being devastated when that news broke, and it was during kind of a routine drill. It happened, and then this, of course, all the reports at the time were he was going to miss the season, and it was very tragic because this was going to be his second year. He had a good rookie season. Especially the latter part of the year. And I remember seeing him and thinking, man, like we got ourselves another star running back, not on the level of Todd Gurley yet. He can maybe get there, but prime Todd Gurley was really good. But Cam Akers, definitely, one of my favorite players on the Rams. And you felt for him when the injury happened. And then when it was about week 12 of the regular season, we started seeing videos of Cam Akers on his Instagram, like working out, doing running drills, doing like a leg press. And you're like, what? Like, what is going on? And then you hear Sean McVay in it was a Monday press conference. And he said that, we're looking possibly that Cam Akers might be ready for the playoffs. I'm not sure what you mean by J. Cole, but $5, sure, why not? Anyway,
He's 19. That's my explanation for him.
Oh yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, so like we're like Cam Akers is coming back in the playoffs. What? And don't get me wrong, Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson did fine as running backs this year. Jake Funk, at times he had a couple of good carries throughout the season too. So like running back, it wasn't necessarily an area of concern. And I'll still say the Rams trading a 6th-round pick for Sony Michel was one of the best trades that we did this past offseason that no one talks about. Sony was so good at pass blocking, and he's a real like north and south runner. Darrell Henderson is more of a pass catching back, but he kind of runs east to west. And then Cam Akers really is a guy that is electrifying. He's elusive, and he's those leg churners that like he can make a guy miss and then get 5 yards afterwards after contact, right? And so when he came back, we were shocked. And he came back in the week 17 game, or no, he came back the week. It was 17 game, and he only took a couple carries. And then the week 18 game, he took more against the Niners when we lost. And then against the Cardinals, he played really well. And then against the Bucs, he did not play very well and had 2 fumbles in that game, but we still pulled out the win. But yeah, like we really, our running backs room in the playoffs, they played well in this offense. That it is an offense that it is a run first offense to set up the pass. That's kind of that zone run scheme that's becoming more and more common in the NFL. And the reality is, Cam Akers, credit to him, he worked his tail off to recover from that Achilles injuries that fast. I remember watching videos from like the doctors on YouTube being like, this should not happen. Like this injury normally takes like a full 8 to 12 month recovery. He's done it in 6. And yeah. So there's hope, Jets fans.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to get Thibodeau or Hutchinson, probably most likely if we were to get one of them, it would be Thibodeau right now. But the combines haven't really fully, we got a lot to go. Mm-hmm. But if one of them was to jump to the Jets and Lawson was to come back, fully recovered, the difference, that can just completely flip the defense, especially because we're probably going to, fix our safety issue, maybe add a linebacker. But like, if we could just, Carl Lawson comes back and is like 10 to 13 sacks, and we get a rookie who gets 10 sacks or whatever, and you move JFM back to the middle, it just, the whole defensive scheme of the Jets is built around a defensive line that does that. So it just changes everything.
And we know how much better that's going to make the rest of the defense look. So all of a sudden, you don't necessarily need to invest premium money in linebacker or in cornerback.
Yeah,
They've said it over and over that it starts up front. That's where this defense is going to be built on. So, the recovery of Carl Lawson is absolutely critical.
I'll just quickly answer this. I think that the Jets should definitely be serious about who they bring into camp to compete with Eddie Pinheiro, but I want to make it really, really clear because a lot of people forget this. Eddie Pinheiro was a very good kicker for the Bears and only got cut because he had a real injury. And as long as he's back and healthy, he has no history of being a bad kicker. He was good for the Bears, and he missed one extra point for us, I think, since
blocked.
One was blocked.
And the only kick he missed this year was blocked.
Right. So he's been a perfect kicker for us. But do I think we should bring in competition? Absolutely, we should bring in competition. I don't completely trust him, but I think he definitely proved to be good enough for this portion of our rebuild, like at this point of where the Jets are. This is a great year to find out. If he doesn't pan out this year and he costs us something, then we know moving forward when we really become serious contenders, which we hope we are, that, we're going to need a kicker. If he has an amazing year, like and plays like he did last year for us, then we know that we got that solved, right? So, I think they should bring in competition every year. I like the philosophy of competition, every position. Nothing is given to anybody, if you know what I mean, and you fight, and you have to fight in camp for your job.
And legit competition. I mean, I swear, I never want to see Alex Kessman again. All right. The only time I want to see Matt Amendola is if he's trying to become a punter, because he does that a lot better than he place kicks.
Speaking of kickers, the Jets and Rams have a little connection. Do you remember one Sam Sloman?
Sam Ficken. Frickin' Ficken.
Yeah, Kickin' Ficken. Sorry, Kickin' Ficken. Yeah.
Frickin' Ficken kicking. Yep.
Oh, that's.
Oh my God!
Who, by the way, what's the kicker for the Jets during that game when they beat the Rams at that time? Just thought I mentioned that.
Was it Ficken?
Yeah, Ficken was the kicker. Actually,
it was the Ficken revenge game.
That's what did it. It was the Ficken. I guess he was cut out of the highlight video.
Oh man, good on him. I think he's out of the NFL now, so he got his revenge.
And we kicked him to the curb pretty quickly after that. So,
yeah. Oh man, it's too funny. I know we got sidetracked a bit there, but
I think it's all good. If people are asking questions, it's all good.
Yeah. But I will say this about the Rams turnaround. So we came from the horrible, the disgusting, the annoying, the frustrating, the every bad word you can think of, and some you can't say on YouTube. Jeff Fisher era. And I remember he got a contract extension in season. And Ram fans lost it. We were like, are you kidding me? We've been wanting this guy fired for years. And I'll be honest. So I like to say I'm a pretty patient fan. And I like to, be optimistic, and I like to, cheer on my team. After year two, halfway through year two, I was done. I wanted Fisher fired. And we had a brutal loss to the Patriots over in London, England, where Jeff Fisher, after the game, came to the podium and he said, yeah, because the Rams scored on the opening drive of the game to Danny Amendola. And then after that, we didn't cross half the rest of the game. And we lost, I think it was 42-8. Because we got a 2-point conversion. And Jeff Fisher in his post-game conference said, yeah, that's a good football team. And right now, we're not a team built to beat a team like New England. And I was like, are you kidding me? So we're built to lose. Like how are we built, right? Like, and and again, it was a poor wording on his, at the end of the day, but like it showed me that Jeff Fisher's philosophy was dated. He did not know how to run an offense. And Cam Akers will definitely be the lead back next year. Yeah, no, keep him in your fantasy, absolutely. But yeah, like Jeff Fisher was not. He's a coach that he couldn't coach in this NFL anymore, right? And again, another Jets-Rams connection. You guys had our defensive coordinator at the time, Greg Williams, who, yeah, we don't need to. We could have an entire 2-hour stream about Greg Williams and what a horrible defensive coordinator is. Where all blitz, no bite. That's what I used to say about him. Yeah, so once we fired Fisher, and I remember thinking, okay, we're getting a new head coach. There was, a couple of names going around, and I actually remember wanting Kyle Shanahan because his name was available. And I'll be honest, I had never heard of Sean McVay, and they didn't even interview Kyle Shanahan, and because the Falcons at the time were in the playoffs, and the Rams announced that they hired Sean McVay before the playoffs were over. And I just remember being like, well, okay, like he's got a history with Washington as a good offensive coordinator. And his opening press conference, you definitely were like, hey, this guy's at least like good in front of the press. And you can tell he was a competitive young guy. He was 30 at the time, which still blows my mind that he was 30 years old and they hired him to be a head coach. And then all that offseason, it was a lot of fun hearing him talk about how he was going to invent, or how he designed the offense to be very Todd Gurley friendly, and it certainly was in those first 2 years. And yeah, you just saw him build a culture, and we went from this, and the Rams have never been like a big dramatic culture. We haven't had a ton of off-field issues. Even players when they even going back to St. Louis, it's been a pretty like chill franchise, even in the worst of times. And then when Sean McVay came in, there was almost like this culture of accountability, and he brought in guys like Andrew Whitworth, who came in and secured that left tackle position. And then we also signed Robert Woods from Buffalo. And I remember people, I had so many of my friends say like, oh, the Rams got gypped. They paid how much for Robert Woods? Well, Robert Woods helped turn, our wide receiver room around, where we hadn't had an over 1,000-yard receiver in I think probably over like 7 years, since like Torrey Holt or something like that. And here Robert Woods comes in, he does it his first year, and just Jared Goff, from looking horrible in his rookie season, and then in the next season looks like, oh, like Jared Goff is an actual quarterback in the NFL, and he got drafted first overall. And maybe
I remember when he took that step. I remember
wow,
what a difference a coach can make.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so it's been a lot of fun seeing your team culture change. And they, in regards to the draft picks, the Rams were often criticized for trading away draft picks. Jared Goff in 2016 was the last first-round draft pick we had, because we've been trading for players like, Jalen Ramsey, Matt Stafford. We also traded for Brandon Cooks, which, he had some concussion issues that were unfortunate. But because of his salary, we ended up trading him away to the Texans for a second-round pick. So you recuperate a little bit on that. So the strategy, it has its risks for sure. But really what the Rams do is, because they had their core group of players, and in a moment I will talk about their drafting, because people forget the Rams are an excellent drafting team under the Sean McVay and Les Snead era. And when we've been able to, build our team, the core of our team through the draft, that's what allows you to say, hey, you know what? A first-round pick with a fifth-round option that, is really like a risk, we don't really need that right now. We have our star players. We need more depth, right? And there was always this narrative all last offseason that the Rams were top-heavy, and it just wasn't true. we had players that were young and developing, and I always like to bring up this list here of our 2019 draft class. And I'm going to list off some players that you've probably never heard of, but they were key players in winning our Super Bowl. So our 2019 draft class, we didn't have a first round pick. We had Taylor Rapp. He was a starting safety for us, second round. Darrell Henderson, sometimes our starter, but in our running back rotation, third round. David Long, he was a starter at corner at times, but in a rotation as well. Bobby Evans, rotational player, but made an impact on this team. Third round draft pick. He was a tackle. Greg Gaines, starter. Greg Gaines is like, he took over for Michael Brockers when we had to trade him away last offseason. He played better than Michael Brockers. And he's the defensive tackle that's opposite of Aaron Donald, so he's probably going to do well, but he did phenomenal. David Edwards, a fifth round draft pick, a tackle, again, capable guy, sometimes started, sometimes was injured, but in a rotation. Nick Scott, a seventh round draft pick, was a safety. He played amazing in the playoffs. And then Dakota Allen, who hasn't really played out, and I'm pretty sure he's cut, but he was a seventh round back for you. But in 2019, we had we had 8 draft picks. 7 of them are starting caliber NFL players, and they weren't necessarily right away. They developed, and here we are in 2022. And this draft class was a large reason why the Rams were able to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it's funny, you say names you'd never hear of, but this is what we're talking about when we tell Jet fans they have to be patient. We're here, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Why do we have to be patient? Because what you're saying is, it wasn't necessarily like when you got Beckham, when you added those big names, Ramsey, then Beckham, and then Von Miller, and people try to say, oh, that's why the Jets need to sign Devontae Adams, right? For example. But we haven't added the depth that you're talking about. We haven't added the contributors that you're talking about. And I don't have any problem with signing those big names and doing it when we've built the foundation, when we have the depth in all the position rooms. Then you come out of that and you say, now we're a wide receiver away. Or we're, if we can get a little bit more pressure, here's an aging guy that has a little bit left in his tank still. Denver's willing to get rid of him. And you just kind of put the sugar on top, or the coating, or the straw that stirs the drink. You bring in those final guys, but it's never worked for us when we bring in a Le'Veon Bell or a Brandon Marshall or a Decker, because we don't have the team yet. We do it too soon, and then those guys don't mean anything because, like, for example, if you can't block, like everybody wants to bring in Devontae Adams. Well, guess what? If our offensive line has another year like it did, it got better towards the end. But if we go half the games, if we're not going to block for them, it doesn't matter how many wide receivers you have, right? And I love it when people try to make the point of Cincinnati, because it's like, yeah, he's already Cincinnati. He's a great quarterback, but he's already, because you didn't pick a left tackle or you didn't get him a great tackle, he's already missed, more than half a season in his first year, and in the second year, he was limping in the Super Bowl. He's like, people are thinking, oh, but they won anyway. Yeah, but it's like a clock ticking. You're waiting for him to get hurt. And then guess what? At the end of the day, why did the Bengals lose? Because they couldn't protect them.
The Rams pass rush on and on and on. It never stopped. It was relentless.
Yeah. Anyway, before you move on with your story, we do have a question I want to put up there. You don't have to answer it now if you wanted to say something, but I wanted to get it up there because I want Dom to know we're going to get to it.
Yeah. No, Dom, I appreciate you saying that. And the reality is, the Rams cap situation, the Rams are a team that's willing, because of the win now mode that we're in. We do the practice of kicking it forward. It's just where you convert base salary of a player and restructure it into a signing bonus for a future year. Now, the danger of it is, in that it transforms that money into guaranteed money for the players, so players are willing to do it. And because the mindset is the cap is going to increase each year, so it hurts your team less and less in future years. And you can do that when you have a team that you think is ready to win the Super Bowl. If you're a team that's building, it's a dangerous practice to do. But I expect the Rams to bring back Von Miller. But before they do anything, we really need to figure out Matt Stafford's contract extension. He's going into a contract year, and we have to pay him, right? And he was grossly underpaid last year. Now, and again, I say that as someone who does not make that much money, but Matt Stafford made $23 million last year as his salary, and that's incentives included, not playoff incentives, but season incentives. He definitely exceeded that. When you hear about guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen getting $40 million a year, I expect Stafford to be in that ballpark. I'm hoping that he has a team-friendly salary. I want him to get paid, but I'm hoping it's kind of malleable the way that the Chiefs set up Patrick Mahomes' salary. But I do expect us to lose some players. And we mentioned Austin Corbett earlier as kind of a key contributor that I think we are going to lose. But I don't know. I'm optimistic the Rams still have most of our core. Out of our total roster wise, we have about 20 free agents, and I think about 44 players still under contract. So really the biggest names are Odell and Von Miller. And Odell, you have to see what's happening with his surgery. I've been following his Instagram and Twitter, and it sounds like he has a really tough road of recovery ahead. So he's probably not likely available till mid-season, if then next year anyway. So I don't know if they'll be able to justify signing him that way. But I do expect Von Miller to be back with the Rams next year.
But if I'm Beckham, why would I want to go anywhere else? If I'm not going to be able to come back in till mid-season, why would I want to do what I just did? Learn a whole new system, get with a whole new team, go back to where I'm comfortable and where I just won a championship. And by the way, was playing really well until I got injured late in the game. So.
I'll continue to say he was not the problem in Cleveland.
He was resurging his career. His career was coming back. He got a Super Bowl ring now. LA is a beautiful place when you have money. It's a great place to be when you have cash. It depends if you're just about one thing and you're looking who can make me the biggest offer, or and people are different, or if you're a person about balancing the quality of your life and really saying leaving it, for money is that happiness? Does that necessarily mean happiness? You have a certain amount of money. Is it going to change your life that much? It's, we make that decisions at our level of pay in the world, right? We make decisions like that. I took a pay cut to come to California and live, but I wanted the lifestyle of California. Mm-hmm. So, we make decisions. So it's just a matter of, it's very understandable or believable that he'll make the decision of, I'm happy. Doing better again. I'm recover. My career was going this way. And maybe he knew deep down it's because of where I am and I need to get out of here. And now you found a great place. You got a great coach. You got a great quarterback. Why not? You got a great complimentary receiver. So, make it happen. Stay there.
Absolutely. I got to give a shout out to one of my moderators extraordinaire, Grandizer 12 there. And
is he here? Okay.
He asked the question for guests. Whose house? I say Rams.
Rams house.
Depends which team has the home game that week. No, just kidding.
Okay, Grandizer, since we're doing Rams talk and me and Pay will be collaborating a lot in the future, hit that sub button, baby. It will be nice.
I will spoil this. Grandizer 12 is a Dolphins fan.
Oh, he's a Dolphins fan. Great.
Well, we'd like to thank you for your 2 minutes in the chat now.
Yeah.
No. Sub.
Just kidding. You're welcome here.
I as long as it's respectful, I don't mind hearing the
perspective. Grandizer 12 is so respectful.
Yeah. Richie does a collab with from Jets Media. He does a collab with a Miami guy, Dolphins guy, and a Buffalo guy, a New England guy, and they give each other crap, but they're mostly respectful. So,
Jeremy, there's something I really want to do with you two. Because, I love asking questions.
Yes,
it's just coming.
But so something I did is, and I sometimes do this on my channel, where I go on to Twitter or Reddit and I find hot takes by fans of their team.
Okay.
And I found 3 particular hot takes here that I would love your guys' reaction to. These are from Jets fans. And so I would love to, I'll start with one and I'll go through here. So the first one is the Jets moved on from Rex Ryan way too soon.
This tears me up inside to talk about.
I will say, when we got Rex Ryan, I was very happy. I like a lot of what Rex Ryan did. He had a lot of positives. I was ready for him to go, but not in an angry, he's got to get out, he sucks way. In a very respectful, I appreciate what he did for the Jets organization, but there was some embarrassing moments. I would have been much happier without some of the things that he said and some of the things that he would do in the media. And also, it was just seemed to not be working anymore. Like, we were going the wrong direction. So I wasn't screaming that he had to go, but I was okay with him going.
I kind of knew it was time. I'm going to say this. In all my years of being a sports fan, in terms of with all my teams, Mets, Jets, Rangers, Knicks, I would probably say Rex Ryan is in my top 2 or 3 favorite coaches of any of my teams that I have ever had. And that's covering quite a bit of ground. Granted, it's for mostly a lot of lousy teams. But no other coach has inspired me or got me so excited about a team, because it really wasn't about the players. I mean, the Jets had Revis, Mangold. They had a couple of great players at that time, but they weren't like a team full of Pro Bowlers. Mm-hmm. There were still some good players, but I didn't exactly see Von Miller on that team, or that kind of a player, to give you a Rams comparison. But I know Tannenbaum made some mistakes. I didn't love the way that Tannenbaum ran the organization. He definitely believed in having few draft picks, but making them in the right spot. It worked in some spots because he moved up to draft Darrelle Revis, but when the pick didn't work out quite so well, the rest of your draft suffered. But he and Rex somehow worked together well. Tannenbaum could handle the numbers. He was very down to earth, very straightforward, very business. Rex was kind of like the yin to his yang. When they let Tannenbaum go and kept Rex and brought in John Idzik, who I believe is the worst general manager in the history of this organization, and that is saying a ton. Worse than McCagnon. Definitely worse than McCagnon in my mind. The two of them never worked together well. It was never gonna fly. And there's a reason why they still hate each other to this day. I mean, if you go up to Rex and you mention the name John Idzik, his face will scrunch up. It just makes him sick because he knows Idzik is the main reason. But again, Rex had 6 years.
Yeah,
that's like Tom Landry with the Cowboys. That's by comparison. But yeah, it was time to go in a different direction, and I'm at peace with that.
Okay. Next hot take. This is.
Grandizer's got some too, but yeah, let's go.
Yeah, we'll finish this and we'll definitely get to those. Those are great questions. I appreciate it, Grandizer.
The Jets offense will be top 10 next season. Bet your life on it. I guarantee it. Hundo P.
Okay, so it depends on free agency and the draft and luck and hitting and striking gold and everything working out perfectly.
Yeah.
But betting your life on it is obviously, in my opinion, it's insane to bet your life on it or guarantee it or believe it. I don't think it's impossible because their offensive line and Zach was showing so much improvement at the ends. Like, it started to gel and we saw the coaches grow, LaFleur grew. It's not my expectation. We would be very happy if we ended up like 15 in the league, like that would be an amazing jump forward. We'd be thrilled with it. The reason I would say it's not impossible is because Zach Wilson, it's possible, can take a giant jump. Yeah. And they might in the draft take like Equano, and Becton comes back and is back to his all-pro form and stays healthy. And, if they take, what's his face comes back, Carl Lawson comes back and he's, and if they draft well and if they, whoever they get at tight end or in free agency, like if everything comes together in perfect harmony, then yes. of course it could happen, but like to sit there and say bet your life on it, it's going to happen. That's ridiculous.
Was it like would it have been the Ryan Fitzpatrick year that they finished the last time they finished top 10 offense? Or?
Probably. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't have been after that.
Okay.
Yeah, not 2015. Yeah, that was that year. Yeah, I mean this. So when we say a top 10 offense, are we talking about yards, points? Like, what are we considering?
I'm assuming scoring.
Okay.
Assuming scoring.
All right. So if we go to points per game, because I think this is something where I want to pull up a number or two.
Ooh, I like
the
it.
Jets finished 28th in the league in points per game with 18.2. So, and by comparison, let's see. So the number 10 team was the Green Bay Packers. They had 26.5 points per game. So you're talking basically another 8 points per game, 8-9 points per game. Do I think the Jets could do that? I really do. You know, there's a lot that we still have to see, but give me a full season of Elijah Moore. I believe, and I know some people are going to disagree. That's cool. I believe Corey Davis is going to have a better year. And if he plays a full season, he's going to be on pace for 1,000 yards. He was on pace for 8 or 9 touchdowns. I believe in him. I believe in Michael Carter has the potential to be an excellent running back in this league. I'm not asking for him to be Jonathan Taylor, but he could be that 1A running back. We know that this offensive line is getting another piece added to it. And if you add that tight end, because we know this offense loves its tight ends, I think this offense can come together quite efficiently and quite quickly.
The Shanahan offense, by the way, historically has went up 10 points a year on average in many places, in Washington, in Atlanta, in San Francisco. It's known to go up 8 to 11 points in the second year. And I agree with all the things you're saying. It's like perfect examples of the things that can go right. You get Zach Wilson at tight end, that changes everything. A tight end is a quarterback's best friend, especially in the West Coast offense. Look at the Niners. The Niners are a different team without Kelsey. You know
and
what I
how
mean?
much better did this offense become? Everyone talks about Michael LaFleur going to the booth. Okay, fine. Yeah. Let's put a few more people up in the booth if that's all it takes. But in truth, he started changing the formations up. He got away from the 12 formation using the 2 tight ends. He stopped doing that and he figured out, okay, this is what I have to work with. Let me adjust the offense. Then they started scoring a few more points and things started working better for him.
Yeah. There's a ton of there's so many spots and so many different ways that we can become a better offense. And if we were to hit on all of them, then absolutely you could have that kind of turnaround. I just wouldn't bet my life on it.
No, I don't like it.
Because especially as a Jet fan, when do you learn?
Yeah.
Don't you know that things always go wrong for us?
Well, and that leads us into our final hot take from Jets social media platforms of when the Jets win the Super Bowl.
When he said when, not if, but when. I want him. That's on the record. Okay.
Yeah. That day will be better than my wedding day.
Well, you're talking to a guy who's 40 years old and single and never married. So I'm going to, it will definitely be better.
Fair enough.
My wife watches this channel, so I got to be careful about this. I'm going to tell you something about something that was said. I think it was the rabbi, but I didn't like the rabbi because I'm not religious and we got a rabbi. But something was said, and I think it was by him. He said, on our wedding day, he said, may this day, he said something to this effect. I might mess it up when I paraphrase it. He goes, I hope that this day is the saddest day out of all the rest of the days of your life. And he wasn't wishing us to have a bad day.
Wow.
Right? So what a profound thing. Meaning, as good as this day is, every day will be better. So technically, I could tell my wife, if she gets mad at this, it's okay for the Jets winning the Super Bowl to be a better day than my wedding day, because that's what was wished for us. That every day. And I could say the Jets won the Super Bowl, and let's say it's in 3 years from now, and I've been married to you for 15 years. What could be better than that? So I can imagine the overall joy and feeling in those moments of winning could be better, because the wedding day had stress attached to it. There was tons of stress, tons of things that go wrong, and you forget to enjoy your own wedding day. So I think it's safe to say the Jets winning would be, would be that moment. My God, I'll probably be crying.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and I look forward to your reaction video to that, Jeremy.
I think I will be filming myself. I might not be live.
Yeah,
I will record it so then I could play it back.
that's
I'm
fine.
going to do that for the draft party. Like I go to Green Bean and Jets, 24/7 draft party. But I think I'm going to, while I'm at their draft party on YouTube, I'm going to film myself, my reaction to every pick. So I can play it back for people because people like my reactions.
Especially when your voice goes up about 9 octaves.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got some great questions from Grandizer12. And by the way, if you're a Jet content provider, if you're looking for a Jet collaborator,
Clabatier.
I don't know how many followers he has, if it's a mismatch or not. You kind of stay usually somewhere near your level of how long you've been doing it and stuff like that. But I can either do it and be happy to do it, no matter what the size, no matter how small or big, or I can connect you to the Jets' bigger content providers that I'm friends with that are much bigger. If that's what makes sense for him, I don't mind either way. But I'm happy to do either, facilitate or be the Jet content provider that he wants to collaborate with. But anyway, let's go to these questions. Are the Jets going to re-sign Morgan Moses? Okay, I'll start with that. I think if we can get him for the right price. So I just did a off-season simulator software that you may have heard of from Fanspeak. I'm actually using it to do my mock draft on Sunday with Dom C. And I used this simulator to negotiate with players, cut players, and do all that good stuff and figure out who we're going to end up with. And I ended up signing him for what we thought was a fair price. I think it was like $4.8 million, 3-year deal, 50% of it guaranteed, and just lock him in for the rest of his career, possibly, or like the prime of his career. But that was with him being a backup tackle in mind. Like, in other words, I'm okay with it, but I don't want it. Like, I don't want him to. I want Morgan Moses to come back at a reasonable price. I want to have a very good, and that means you have to pay money. I want a very good tackle backing up Becton and Font, namely because Becton does have a history of being banged up, even in his first year. So he was banged up and missed some games. So I'd like those games to be able to have a competent tackle come in. I think he's very reliable. I think it's an important. I think he's it gives us versatility because Fant can move over if Becton gets hurt. So I like the idea of having him. Do I think the Jets will? I feel that JD will value that. I do. I think he's going to want to have depth in the offensive line, and I think he's going to be willing. I think if Morgan Moses is willing to spend and doesn't get a much bigger offer, I think for somewhere a little under $5 million, like 2 years of that salary guaranteed, or one, half of it guaranteed. I think that we will get him. Like, so what I'm saying is 15 million, 3 years, 8 million guaranteed, something like that. If he's willing to sign for that, I say we bring him back. If he wants more than that, or if Miami or someone's going to come along and offer him 7-8 million a year or something, then he's gone because we're not going to pay him that much.
My thought is this. I think about where the two tackles are going to line up. Coach Saleh has said that Fant and Becton are in a competition for the left tackle position. I personally think that's a lot of coach speak. I think Becton has the left tackle job as long as he performs. And by the way, I love seeing him go back at the trolls on social media. I love it. I have a lot of confidence that Becton is going to be fine. The more time goes by, the better I feel about him. Yep. But George Fant, and we talked about that first game against Carolina, the offensive line didn't look so good. In fact, they didn't look good at all. But he did not look good at right tackle. He looked good at left tackle. So my thought is this. If George Fant, we have confidence George Fant can play right tackle, which to me is really a mystery, then I would let Moses walk because I do not look at him as a backup. Morgan Moses, to me, is a very good run blocker and a bad pass blocker. I felt he was a liability in pass coverage. I am not as high on re-signing him as some other people are for that very reason. the more I think about this, I would consider keeping either him or LDT, but I would not keep both. I want at least one new legit starter in that offensive line, wherever it may be. And I think right guard is probably the best place to do it. I think the biggest gamble that we're taking with this offensive line is that George Fant could play right tackle as well as he played left tackle last year. So I am leaning towards letting Morgan Moses go.
Yeah, and you know the point might be because Morgan Moses might not be willing to stay because he's going to know that he's not going to have a very good chance. It's going to be very doubtful that he's going to be able to start. And so if he's looking to still start in his career, he might leave. He might leave just based on that. So it's just your second question was asked about Ashton Davis. We were all very high on him. A lot of Jet fans liked him too, and we're excited to have him. He got injured year one. And then it took him time to figure it out when he came back this past season. So here's my take on him. I think there's still the potential because he hasn't had, if he stays healthy, he hasn't had a ton of playing time. We have a very good defensive coordinator and secondary coach in Tony Ogden. It's very possible that Ashton Davis will still develop into a good starting safety in this league, but he will never be great because he does have some limitations, specifically in pass defense. But I think I would be happy if Ashton Davis was our depth guy. Like I don't want to see him be our starting safety, but if he's on our squad, if he's on our roster, and he's a guy like if one of our safeties gets hurt that comes in, I think it's a pretty decent guy to have in the wings that can come in. I don't think it's as I think it's a strong depth piece, So I mean the Jets obviously got him for a while longer, so I'm happy with him in that role. I don't want to see him as the starter yet unless he develops a lot more and gets a lot better. But I'm happy to have him on the roster. I don't want him cut. I want him there. He's a guy I think proved that he can come in and play at a decent enough level to justify, being part of the 53 man and being one of our backup safeties. What do you think, Adam?
I have hope for Ashton Davis, but it is a very, very shaky hope. Very, very shaky at this point. See, when I look at now, we have to keep in mind, he was drafted in that first draft when Gase was still here. But if we look at the most recent draft, when the Jets drafted their defensive players, they drafted guys who are sort of that linebacker safety hybrid, Sherwood, Nasruddin, guys like that. When I look at Ashton Davis, that's the kind of player that I see. I don't want him playing back in pass coverage. I actually see him as more of a box safety because he is very fast. He can hit pretty hard. And I think if you move him up a little bit, he doesn't have to worry as much about the angles he takes to the tackler, which is one of his biggest weaknesses. So I would like to actually see him moved up a little bit. I could almost see him as sort of like that hybrid player that they wanted, that I think they've envisioned a Sherwood or a Nasruddin for. So, but in terms of coverage, the less I have to see Ashton Davis playing back in coverage, the better off we all are as Jets fans.
Do you recognize any of these names? And
Yeah.
Do you have any opinion of them?
I don't have strong opinions, but honestly, I love hearing intelligent people talk about what they're intelligent about. And so hearing two hardcore Jets fans talk to their chat about, the potential of these players, I enjoy it. And, the reality is if they ever, become available for a trade, the Rams will probably call you.
The Rams are
draft picks to trade us. I don't know at this point.
Okay, we have 8 this year.
Okay, not in the first round.
No.
Oh, that's right. They're all like the 200s, right? When we see the mock drafts, like
yeah,
we get these trade offers from the Rams, and it's like, okay, we want your second round pick for like the 200th, the 210th, the 213th. That's the kind of trade offers we get.
But if you look at the Rams draft history, like 2019, they know how to find value.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I'm fine if the Rams never draft in the first round ever again. I would much rather trade 1 or 2 first-round picks for a proven star player than take a risk on a rookie. Like unless you know, there's some college players that the risk is just less than others. But yeah, I'm content that the Rams keep doing what they're doing because it's working. We got a Super Bowl.
Yep. Going to the next question from. I love these questions. These are great questions.
Grenadiers 12 is
coming from
amazing.
a Miami fan,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. So no particular order. Is this realistic for our first bunch of picks in the draft? Tight end, cornerback, edge, linebacker, safety. Do you agree or disagree? What would be your list? So I agree. This very well could be how it plays out because these are all positions of need. I'd say the only one somebody would argue is that cornerback is the lesser of the needs, depending on how much they like and believe in Brandon Eccles, depending on how much they think we could sign somebody in free agency. Tight end is definitely an incredibly strong need. Everybody wants an edge with that first pick. We're all praying Thibodeau or Hutchinson slips. A lot of us are in love with a guy named Jermaine Johnson. There's some other guys, Boye and Maffei, but all Jet fans pretty much agree we want another edge. We everybody talks up these guys. It's just a matter of which rounds. But nobody has a problem if Hutchinson or Thibodeau slip to the 4. Very few people, at least in our world, with grabbing that. We all agree we need linebackers. I think that nobody is sold on anything beyond CJ Mosley, and even he might not be around for more than a year if he doesn't restructure, because I don't think once we can drop him, I don't think we're paying him $20 million a year. So, and then safety is an obvious need. So these are all very realistic. Another one you could add to this list that a lot of people talk about is wide receiver. A lot of Jet fans want a very high impact wide receiver. They want to give Zach a lot of weapons. But I do think the thing that's missing here is offensive line. Mm-hmm. I think we need a right guard. So I don't agree that we're not going to take a right guard. I think it depends on free agency because Lincoln, what is his name? Lincoln or I'm forgetting about
Lincoln Tomlinson. Are you talking about?
Yeah. There's some guard that's really good. That's probably going to be a free agent. But other than that, I think the Jets very likely. We always talk about second round Zion Johnson, but I actually have in my mock. I have Zion Johnson going to Miami. I have the Dolphins taking Zion Johnson with their first round pick. So I don't know if he's going to be available. So I don't think any of these are wrong. And I think what's the real answer to the question is these are all fine positions for us to draft at. Joe Douglas is a value GM. So what he's going to do is he's not going to decide I need these 5 positions in the first 5 picks. He's going to decide I have 7 positions of need, 7 positions where I'm willing to pick guys for each spot, right? So with the number 4 pick, he knows what positions or he'll trade down if the value is not there. So he's a value guy. So who's he going to pick at 10? He has to see who's there. If the wide receiver he values the highest is there and the cornerback he may have considered, like let's say a Sauce Gardner, is not there, he'll go for the wide receiver. If Sauce Gardner's there, it depends on his rank. I don't know what that ranking is. Don't believe any rumors. No one keeps things more quiet or more hidden than Joe Douglas. He's not a guy. Anything that leaks is a lie from the press, or it was purposely leaked to confuse people. But I think wide receiver is missing from this, and right guard is missing from this. And I think that would come before cornerback. I think right guard is a bigger need than cornerback, and I think that wide receiver might even be considered right now at this part of our rebuild a bigger need than cornerback. So right guard is big and wide receiver is big. I don't know who I'd remove here from wide receiver. I might remove either safety or linebacker and say that safety or linebacker are positions we could address later in the draft. Remember, our first 5 picks go up to 69. We still have 110 and 114. And there are a lot of guys we've identified as a fan base, linebackers and safeties that will be available there. So I talked for a long time. I'm going to let Adam go, but that's basically, I hope I answered your question as far as my brain as a Jets fan.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find something to add on to that. If you wanted to make this easier, what you could actually say is the Jets needs are tight end and D for defense, because that lists every single position on the defense. So, cornerback, safety, edge, linebacker, that everything except defensive tackle. But you could actually make an argument that defensive tackle is that sneaky need that nobody wants to talk about, depending on what they choose to do. If they keep Sheldon Rankins, if they keep Foley Fatukasi, will they do that? I I definitely believe Rankins should be gone. Fatukasi, that is for me the toughest free agent that the Jets have for me to make a decision on. Do they keep him? Do they let him go? And by the way, Peo, you might like this. DJ Jones would definitely be a target of mine from the 49ers. I would be happy to take him out of your division and put him on my team if I could.
Okay, I'd be okay with that too.
All right.
I will just say from an outside perspective, what I've seen from the Jets, and to be honest, I watched the Jets more because I became friends, with you, Jeremy, and also John Post from Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports, and it's one thing to list the needs of your team, and absolutely, it's important to address those, but I think if the Jets can just find those playmakers, right? Those players that develop into superstars, right? I think of a team like Washington when they were able to draft Chase Young, right? And some say he had a down year, but a down year for Chase Young is still a career year for a lot of other guys. When they drafted Terry McLaurin, right? Those two players, they make that team just that much more competitive because other teams have to game plan for them. Other teams have to respect them whenever they are on the field, right? And I think, the Jets, one of their greatest needs is just making sure to have those guys that are star players or developing into star players.
Yeah, we could definitely see that. I feel like the Jets, one thing they don't have on defense right now, at least we didn't see it this past year, is a playmaker. And you know what? I don't care what position it comes in. I don't even care if it's drafting Kyle Hamilton number 4. Not that I want to draft Kyle Hamilton number 4, but if he's that unicorn that Robert Saleh talked about, we all know what the question was. Those of us who watched that press conference, they were asking, what do you think about taking a safety at number 4? Can you ever see yourself doing that? In a very subtle way. And, coach knew exactly what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. But he did talk about premium versus non-premium positions, which I found interesting that a coach would do that. So if Hamilton is the guy that can help impact this defense, I am in favor of it. I think the Jets would prefer it be a pass rusher on the D-line. I feel the same way. But you have to take what the draft board gives you. Dancing with the girl you brought, to use an analogy. Yeah. Don't reach out too far. Just take, look at what you have, look at what makes the most sense, and don't get too cute. Yeah. Like if we think we've got to take our pass rusher number 4, we've got to take our wide receiver number 10. No, we don't have to take a wide receiver at number 10. Cooper Kupp, what round? Off the top of your head, 3rd round. Thank you. Yeah. So you know what? There's going to be some very good playmakers that are going to be available. Maybe they'll be almost as good as Cooper Kupp. I would take that. Elijah Moore was in the 2nd round. So Antonio Brown was in the 6th round, I believe. So there are certain positions where you have a better chance of finding value late than you do with other ones. Mm-hmm. And I'll take my chances on getting a wide receiver or running back later than I will with, say, a pass rusher in the 5th or 6th round. So just don't get too cute with the draft board.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to hit. You got to get the players that are going to hit. Mm-hmm. I say that all the time. Who's going to hit? Who are you more sure about? Like sometimes it's like we're not in a position to gamble and roll dice. If you have a guy that's just so solid, so put together, and then another one that's a risk, but like you think would be a higher reward, at this point, we need to hit. Mm-hmm. So like to me, like wide receivers that would have to be there at 10, Wilson, maybe Traylon Burks. The other guys all have question marks to me. 2nd round, but if you wait to 2nd and 3rd round, man, Christian Watson, there are guys. There are guys that we could pick with. So.
You want those players that you get as a fan, you get excited when they start talking about they need a 2nd contract, right? Mm. And that means you're re-signing, you're doing a good job drafting, you're doing a good job at developing talent, and your coaches probably aren't getting fired if you have a lot of those players kicking around. And that's when your team has really turned a corner.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the big themes is like, we'll see a tweet or we'll see an article. Here's the Jets draft class. Here's how many of them are no longer on the team. And, here's who didn't get a second contract. And it's just like, oh my gosh, is it that we're picking players that badly? Is it that we're coaching them that badly? Or it's probably a little bit of both.
Mhm.
Well, we're talking about wide receivers, Jeremy. Actually, I'm going to throw a question your way. I hope you don't mind me asking, but you told me that a certain wide receiver you believed on your hot take might fall a little ways down, without getting into the specifics of it. So, a certain one from Alabama. Do you still feel the same way, or is your mind changing a little bit on that? I'm curious.
I don't know. It depends on what he shows. Like, I don't know if he's going to fall far
From
enough.
what I saw today, he's ahead of schedule. Now he feels he's ahead of schedule.
I'm reading things about him that sound amazing. And when
Yeah.
you read the story and what he's overcome in his life, I read the same article and I'm like, oh my God, this kid is. Yeah, I think he's going to whether it's at a team workout, he's going to show his speed again, and he's going to be right back on, climb the boards for sure.
Now he's not going to be at the combine. I'm Jamison Williams, obviously, but
I'm sorry. I thought, yeah, I had a hot take that he was going to slip, but then I heard his recovery's going well. I was talking about somebody else. I was talking about John Mechie.
About Mechie, yeah, both of them.
Mechie's
Yeah, Williams in particular, yeah.
Yeah, they're saying Mechie's recovery is just off the charts, incredible. They can't believe what he's doing. But yeah, now I'm not so sure Williams is going to drop, because now I realize there are teams like, you know what, I actually totally reversed it, because I'll give away something else that hasn't been made public yet, because we are doing a collaborative. Everybody put their first round in, their full first round mock.
Yep.
That we're doing on Green Bean's website. I have New England taking him. And the reason I did and my notes say the reason for New England taking him is Belichick will keep living with his two tight ends and Mac Jones a little while longer, and show the patience for this future NFL star receiver.
And it wouldn't have anything at all to do with the little Belichick and Saban connection there, would it?
That definitely has something to do with it, but mostly it was just, I asked myself, which team could afford to not have to be willing to not have that wide receiver available for possibly half a season? And my answer to my mind was Belichick, because he's been doing it and he's been winning games. And I think he believes I can stay competitive the first 8 games of the year. Then I can add this rookie who's going to contribute as much as any other rookie would from games 8 to game 17. And then after that, I'm going to have this star wide receiver that I stole with the 21st or 22nd pick.
Yeah, Max seems like he's the type of player who's going to need a receiver to help make him, to help make him more of a threat. And Williams could be that guy. It's a good thought.
Yeah. So here's another good question. Great questions. I love this, and I think the chat's liking it too, because they're answering it too. They're all right.
That's great.
So I'm gonna say. Okay, so obviously I went to Trevor Lawrence until that, and up into that Rams game. The only other quarterback I knew of was Justin Fields, who I do not dislike Justin Fields, but I am not one of the people who thought that it was even close. Like when you say Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, there was no question in my mind that it's Trevor Lawrence. And I wasn't going to be happy. As much as I liked him, I would want to. I at the time was thinking we have to trade down if we're taking Justin Fields. And I don't know if we're going to get him, but I didn't feel right about taking him in that spot with the third pick. But if they were, I wasn't going to be mad. So I was kind of like thinking maybe we could trade down and still get him. I wasn't happy, but if they take him, I guess that means he's good. That means that I trust JD. I kind of like the GM, and that was what I was thinking at that time. When I realized we weren't getting Trevor, I started to dig into all the quarterbacks. That's when it started to pick up the hype with Trey Lance, and when Mac Jones started running up the board, and suddenly this guy out of nowhere, Zach Wilson, started showing up on the charts. And I watched some Zach Wilson and fell in love. And I was a Zach Wilson guy from a Saturday afternoon where I sat and watched about 3 hours of YouTube tape on him. Highlights. Then I started watching each game. I watched his first game ever when he was 19 against the University of Hawaii. And I said, this is the guy. And that was my guy ever since. So that was it. And so I do not, and I still to this day don't regret it. I'm happy we made the pick. I'm willing to fly and be a genius, because I've been screaming about this guy since we took him. So I ride with him. I'm gonna sink big time as a trusted person talking about the Jets if he ends up being a bust or never becomes better than he was last year. But I ride it with pride, and I believe as strongly in him as I ever have.
I would say for me, once we knew we had the second pick, I was pretty sure that it was going to be Zach Wilson. And then once his pro day happened, we saw him throwing those balls across his body, pulling those passes off, it's like, yep, that arm strength, they're going to fall in love with it. That's the guy they're going to take. The biggest thing I wanted to make sure that I was doing is somebody who does not really watch much college football. I'll watch it if there's like a story. I'll watch the national championship, but I need a reason to watch college football. So
he's getting mad.
Well, I mean, J. Cole takes over the chat a lot of times, so somebody else got to turn this week.
He's literally going to be literally going to be my co-host on Friday. He's literally going to be my co-host.
Yeah, you'll be, unlike Grandizer, you'll actually be on camera. You can tell us more work stories. We're all dying for it. So, but yeah, with Wilson, it was like you could see how elusive he was and that he had great arm strength and he seemed to have a good head on his shoulders. So for me, I was like, okay, this is probably the guy we're going to take. Cool. Because the biggest mistake I think people can make one of the biggest is overreacting to each individual game. Reacting this way to the bowl game, like, oh, Justin Fields did this in the semifinal, then the next game wasn't so good. It's like, oh, all the steam is off the Justin Fields train. Just look at the totality. Look how things go from game to game. I mean, Mike White had a game for the ages.
Yeah.
Are you ever going to do that again? I'm not betting on it. I wouldn't bet my life on it. Let's put it that way. So yeah, just look at the big picture and don't get too hung up on one game. And when you looked at the overall consistency, that's why I felt confident about Zach Wilson at number 2. And I don't regret that decision either.
Yeah. David, for this question, so I'll be honest. When the Jets drafted Zach Wilson, it wasn't a surprise because leading up to the draft, it was sort of like everyone's like the Jags are taking Lawrence, the Jets are taking Wilson. People aren't sure who the Niners traded up to get. And I feel like the Jets maybe didn't get the media cycle that they deserved for having the number 2 overall pick. Because it was kind of drowned out by who are the Niners taking with that third pick. I think that Wilson had some lowlights last year, and he had some good highlights as well. And I think the biggest thing for me with Zach Wilson that's still a question mark is that same thing that so many young quarterbacks you just don't know is, can they have that game or that couple of games where they string together that it's like, hey, this guy can play consistently well to set up his playmakers to win the game, and then you take that next step forward and you're like, oh, this guy makes the team around him better. And I don't know if we've seen that yet from Zach Wilson, and not to say that makes him a bust or anything like that. I just think, because he was 21 when he was drafted, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah, he was a young guy, right? And give him his time to develop. Be patient with him. But I think a lot of it, definitely a lot of pressure on your coaching staff. They gotta help him develop. They got to put pieces around him. And I also think, the veteran players on your team, I think is Crowder still with you guys here?
Free agent.
He's a free agent. Okay. Yeah. But I remember thinking last year that Jamison Crowder, because he took a pay cut to stay with the Jets, I believe.
He did.
I remember thinking, I feel like Crowder is an important guy for Zach Wilson. I know he had his injury struggles this past year. But having those veteran guys that can really teach him how to be a pro, how to work out properly, how to learn to read a defense well, not fall for blitzes and disguise blitzes. And I think for clearly the physical traits of being an NFL quarterback, Zach Wilson has them. It's just a matter of, can he have the game slow down? Can he develop that ability to take over a game and win the game for the Jets? Those are the question marks I have about him.
I just want to cut into the chat here because they're having a conversation. J. Cole, I'm going to give you some great advice. If you do a YouTube channel, don't do Jets content. And this is serious. Do the J. Cole show. Like, if you want to really have a chance to go viral, because the Jets are very focused, right? I mean, even the biggest person is 30,000 subscribers or something. But if you want 1 million subscribers, dude, do a J. Cole show. Be you. Show yourself making soup and going crazy. Show yourself, like, have people record you hitting on girls saying, do you like chicken cutlets? I'll make you chicken cutlets. Like, that's what can go viral. I'm totally serious. Like, that can go viral. Like, you're a crazy mofo, and you being out in the world talking to people the way you do and going crazy and being like, yeah, I dance, baby, I dance. You like chicken cutlets? That is the show. That is the show. I just needed to say that.
Yeah, no, it had to be said.
He'll be you'll be a fine Jets content show provider. There's no problem with that. But understand, you'll get to a certain size, like that, and that'll be it. Whereas a J. Cole show has unlimited roof. Like, you could do Jets stuff, but do everything. Do you at a Jets game, eating and yelling, saying, I'll buy you a hot dog, I'll buy you a beer, yo. Like, just do you, man. Do you. You're the secret ingredient. You don't need, like, the one topic. You just need it to be, the topic is J. Cole.
And J. Cole, when you do blow up the way you do, don't come back to say hi once in a while. Don't forget the regular folks like us, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always said that if someone wanted to experiment, just start a YouTube channel that's just trashing like a single team. And I don't have the negativity to do it in my own life, but like I remember I made one video criticizing TJ Watt of the Steelers once. It got like 1,000 views, and it was all Steelers fans, and they just came and tore me apart. And I was like, I wonder if you could make a whole channel of just like criticizing the Steelers or another team or something like that.
I'd have just done an anti-Tom Brady channel if I'd known.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great idea. That's a great
idea. Yeah.
That's the greatest thing. A channel that's just completely dedicated to hating Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
You can do it right now for Belichick.
Yeah.
Just like I hate Bill Belichick channel.
Cheater in the arena. There you go.
Yeah.
Everybody would click on it. There's no one who would be able to resist clicking.
I know people who love him and people who hate him. It'd be amazing.
And you're just ranting about him, saying that he's a cheater.
Yeah.
He's slimy. That stupid hoodie. He doesn't know how to talk to
avocado ice cream.
And then his son, like, bring his son into it because he's creepy.
Yeah, go kiss your dad on the lips again. Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
You know that Bill Belichick resigned for the Jets. He was a head coach for the Jets for one day, and he sent the facts, right? He quit by fax.
You guys have a history.
Yeah, he like wrote it down on a piece of paper. I resign as HC of the NYJ. Pat Riley from the Knicks resigned through a fax.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Actually, and Mike Keenan did the same from the Rangers basically the year prior. Man.
Yeah.
How many more scars do I need to take on at this point? My gosh.
Yeah, well, the J. Cole changing outfits during the show that's one of his best things. But J. Cole, I think I'm sorry to harp on this, but I think it's a really good idea. Now I'm getting all excited about it for him. I think that you should go after V-Man to be like one of your guys. Like V-Man should be part of that channel too, because V-Man is also gold. Like, this is a guy I've just so you know, PayoTime. It's a guy I've had on the show. V-Man is just an interesting, great kid, and he would be an interesting like for example, J. Cole came asked while V-Man was on the show. J. Cole, I highlighted the question. He said, "Hey V-Man, could I make you quesadillas?" And V-Man, in the middle of the sentence while he was talking, said, he went, "What? Oh, yeah, I'd eat them," and then he went on talking. Like, it was just the greatest moment. So I think V-Man should be part of your channel too. Just saying. But anyway, go on. I'm sorry, guys. I'm interrupting my own channel and my own Jet show to talk about a new idea that doesn't even involve me.
Hey, if we birth this epic new channel in this live stream, that's a successful live stream in my books.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Plus, J. Cole is very loyal. He's my son, so he won't forget me. Oh my God. And your friend the postman has a million ideas. Is V-Man the kid that plays the guitar? Yes, he's the kid that plays the guitar. So looks dope, sick. Okay. Okay, so that's what everyone's talking about now anyway. And it's funny because our stream is going up. We have more viewers right now at this moment than we had the entire night. Talking about J. Cole.
I'm not sure what that says about the football talk we were doing.
Anyway, Payo, have you had time to look at the draft yourself yet? Have you done anything at all?
I've been doing. I've been in the process of moving, and I'm really excited. Next April, I for once in my life, I have a room that I'm going to get to set up as a studio. I've moved 5 times in the past year, so I'm really excited to do that in April. But in my spare time, I have been looking at the draft. The Rams are a really tough team to predict how they're going to draft. The one thing that is a guarantee, the Rams are going to have to draft O-line this year. We didn't draft any last year, and we definitely have some free agents. Andrew Whitworth is probably going to retire, even though that's not official yet. But he's 40, so. I see Grandad's even asking if there's any free agents. Really, the first thing that needs to happen with the Rams is that we need to figure out the Stafford extension, just because that does dictate what the rest of the salary cap is going to look like. You got to look after your star players like Von Miller. Joseph Noteboom if Joseph Noteboom is not signed by the Rams, there are going to be so many teams lining up to get that guy. The Rams also have a big decision to make with our cornerback Darius Williams. He's played at a very high level at times, but then at times he's played at not such a high level. So that'll be interesting there. But Grandad's asked, are there any Rams free agents that you'd like to sign, Jeremy and Adam? How do I pronounce your username?
No, it's Wa2K99.
Wa2K. Okay, cool. That flows.
I've heard a few pronunciations, and I've gotten so many variations of it. So
yeah, that's cool. No, I like it.
Yeah, that's good.
Are there any Jets free agents that you'd like to sign? I'd still need to look into specifically who the Jets are. The Rams will definitely be in the market if they can get some value free agent signings. One thing the Rams have going for them is they are a winning organization, and for veteran players that are looking for 1-year prove-it deals, the Rams are a good team to go to, and sometimes you can get a team-friendly 1-year signing that way. So that might be something we'll look to do, definitely on the O-line, and probably getting some help with our linebacking core as well.
How about in the secondary? Because if you have a needed safety, Marcus May, for a 1-year prove-it deal, that might make sense for you.
Maybe, yeah. I think we see the thing is people forget we signed Eric Weddle out of retirement for our Super Bowl run. He has retired since, and we lost our starting safety Jordan Fuller, who was also our play caller. He's actually a really good safety, and I see him coming back next year. But yeah, we'll always be looking to add depth to the secondary for sure. But yeah, Marcus May.
All right. Adam, I'll let you start this time. Are there any round? I know Dom C had one that he was interested in. He talked about it before. He asked about
Corbett. Yeah, he said Austin Corbett.
Corbett is honestly, I think, the only guy. I don't know enough about Darius Williams to be fair, but Corbett, young guy, guard. Yeah, looking at what I'm seeing, Corbett is probably the one guy from the Rams I would have any interest in. Let's see. Corbett is 26 years old. Let's see. And the projection is he's going to make, let's see, on Spot Track about $8.5 million in his contract. I would be open to dishing out a contract on that level, but the rest of the free agents, I can't exactly say that they're exciting me. I hadn't heard of Joseph Noteboom, but now I'll remember the name. I just don't think we have a needed tackle.
Here's the thing about Noteboom. He would be a starter on most other teams. He was the backup for Andrew Whitworth at left tackle. And whenever Andrew Whitworth couldn't play last year, Joseph Noteboom played amazing. He was injured, unfortunately, in the NFC Championship game and didn't play in the Super Bowl. But he tried to. And I've been a fan of Joseph Noteboom ever since we drafted him. He can play both right and left tackle. But I'd love the Rams to re-sign him. But he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get paid by someone.
I was going to say, if we picked him up, if we couldn't re-sign Morgan Moses, JD loves flexibility and versatility. He loves a guy like that who could play either tackle position. So it's possible you might see the Jets like sniffing around him. And then I guess, $8.5 million. Do you think he's worth that payout
For Corbett or Noteboom?
Corbett?
I think there's. See, the thing is with Corbett, he's not this like elite level guard. He's a very capable guard, and he's someone that as long as you have a good center and a good right tackle, like Rob Havenstance is the Rams' right tackle. He's phenomenal and great right tackle, one of the best right tackles in the NFL. That really helped Corbett out. Because I do remember Corbett was projected to be the front runner to be our center, but then Brian Allen beat him out in the center competition last offseason. Corbett got moved to right guard. That was definitely the right move. He's a talented, O-line player. He can play the center position. He can play the guard position. I think someone's going to pay him that. I don't know if I'd be okay. I'm comfortable with the Rams letting him walk.
Yeah. If we re-sign LDT for $3.5 million or something like that, or it doesn't. You're not selling this guy to be that any better than him. So I kind of feel like it wouldn't be worth it for us to pay 8.5 because I think we honestly, we have a guy who can be had and re-signed and extended. Whatever, a 2 or 3 year deal, probably in the $4 million range. So,
thank you, Tony G. That's so kind of you.
What is Tony G saying? Let's bring that up. It sounds so much more intelligent. It was great watching that, man. I literally was, as we're watching, I had that running, and I loved watching you react to them winning. That was great. It's funny because I was doing it with my brother while watching Payo. My brother goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Well, I'm watching the real Super Bowl party." We're just, that was just me and my brother hanging out, so we may as well do it live. But no, your reaction was great. It was classic, just like how I imagined mine would be. Because you had to see me just when the Mets, I'm a Mets fan. When the Mets got their first no hitter, I
have video of my reaction on that one.
I was so nervous about like, are they finally going to do it? That when he got the out, I literally couldn't move. I was laying on the floor of my basement. This is before I moved. I was in, we had a summer house in upstate New York because we got it dirt cheap to get away from our apartment in New York City. And my wife is looking at me on the floor because I couldn't move. The joy and just like to remove that monkey off our back of getting a no-hitter was just the most incredible feeling. And 86, I was younger. I was 15 when the Mets won the World Series in 86. So that was more just jumping up and down and screaming and yelling. But I hadn't suffered that long. I was a Mets fan from 79, 80, like around that time of my life, 6 years. But for the Jets, it's going to be my whole life. I mean, I've been watching them for 31 years now. So it's going to be very intense when they win. I'm going to say when. I'm going to think optimistically when they win a Super Bowl for me.
I hope my mind is still like functioning to where I can actually process that they've won the Super Bowl. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I would tell my no-hitter story. But yeah, we'd be getting a little bit off topic on that one. But I could tell you this though. I was, and Jermaine, I don't know if I've told you, but I was at both Indianapolis playoff games, the AFC Championship game and the wild card game. I drove 4 hours from the west suburbs of Chicago to Indianapolis. Wow. From Central Time Zone to Eastern Time Zone. I'll have to tell that whole story sometime. But the energy, especially for the AFC title game before it started in the parking lot, I remember it was about 60 degrees outside. I think there's actually still YouTube videos of this, of one of the Jets fans actually getting tasered. I'm not making that up. but we went through so much alcohol in the parking lot. I think the average was about 5-6 beers each in that parking lot. Like we were like, there were guys throwing up like little toy footballs and just a random Jet fan swatting them away, and we were just all going Revis Island, and it was just like it became hundreds of us all congregating in this one parking lot right across from Lucas Oil Stadium, and Colts fans who were just numb. See, that's the key. They are numb. Green Bean, rewind the show. You'll figure it out. So,
Green Bean.
but the Colts fans, here's my point. They were numb by now. They'd seen 10 years of, playoffs, of success, of contention, of excitement. By now, they were just like, oh, ho hum, we're hosting another AFC championship game. Whereas we were acting like it was, friggin' Mardi Gras. Like it was like the biggest moment of our lives. And even though, the game didn't turn out how we wanted, I still think that they admired us in a weird way, because it's like, wow, they're getting this much joy. So if we have that much joy just going into an AFC championship game, can you even imagine what it would be like before the Super Bowl, leading into the Super Bowl, and then during the game, and then heaven imagine if we win? Buildings would fall down because of all the screaming and oh my gosh, we wouldn't even have to set fire to anything. Like the world would just collapse; it would cease to exist.
Yeah, I it's hard to even imagine how it would feel. I mean, like, because when we were getting close and then had it taken away from us, if it's anywhere near the opposite of the pain of when we lose, it's going to be a very, very good time for me in my life. And it's going to last a while, a long time. It's going to be very, very special. The Jets winning the Super Bowl. It would just be, man, the top of the mountain. It's like one of those things that there are certain themes of your life in the background, right? Like you live in your life and there's these things that stay with you the whole time. That's kind of just rides along with you. Like for me, like one of them, for example, is music, right? Specifically Billy Joel, right? I've been listening to like one of the first songs I loved in my life. I was like 7 years old, I remember. And it was like My Life from Billy Joel. It was the theme song to a great show called Bosom Buddies. Tom Hanks was in that. And since that time in my life, I've never not been a Billy Joel fan. Through all his albums, I've seen him throughout different parts of my life in different stadiums and different cities. And there's other people I love too, because I love metal. I love, rock and, tons of bands and Springsteen and all that great stuff. But he's like the kind of like that background to your life, right? Like I've grown up with him my whole life. And it's like the Jets are one of those things. I've grown up suffering and feeling pain with the Jets my whole life. So to have that completely reversed and to win the Super Bowl, I can't even say how it would be, because it would just be, it would completely change the whole theme and dynamic of being a Jet fan for me.
I don't think it would be real. Pam, if I could ask, so were you a fan of the Rams when they were in St. Louis during the Kurt Warner era?
Yeah, 99 was the year I became a Rams fan.
Okay, so you'd already had one of these in your lifetime. Okay, so that's
but I didn't appreciate it nearly enough as I do this one, because this one I'm older. I understand your team doesn't make it to the Super Bowl every year. I definitely
your team doesn't get to the playoffs every decade in our case, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh man,
sorry, how to get that out?
No, it's
a little bitter.
I do have a random funny story I'd love to share with you guys about the Rams fandom community this past week.
Sure.
On Twitter on Monday, the Rams mascot Rampage. He tweeted out a picture, like a little video of him writing something on a table, and he put, and it captioned something like stay tuned, like something's coming this week. And Ram fans, like I was talking to so many of them, like, what does this mean? Like the Rams mascot writing on a piece of paper, like a contract extension for Von Miller. Or Matthew Stafford, or maybe McVay's getting his contract extended, and all this speculation for days upon days. This morning, we wake up and Rampage tweets out that he released a children's book called Riding with Rampage. And that was the big announcement this morning. And so all of Rams fandom, we just got so worked up for nothing. But I say all that in the same thing that it's fun being, hearing you guys talking about being a Jets fan and what those emotional highs and lows will come and everything in between. But yeah, being a Rams fan, it's turned into, with all these trades and roster moves that happened, it's turned into this, like, every time the Rams post something, it's like, oh, what does it mean? Like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And it's cool when you're so invested in a team. It's part of the fun of being a fan.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I would love to do, and I'm serious, especially once everything's back to normal in the world, which will be very soon. I feel like we're there already, practically. So life's feeling more and more normal every day. But the thing I'm just thinking in my head that would be great is if the Jets made the Super Bowl and Green Bean was in Virginia and staying and willing to go to the New York Jets fan club to watch the game in a bar with Adam.
Yep.
I think I'd fly across the country for that.
That's cool.
I think I would. I think I would join. If Green Bean was going to be there, I think I would join. I think I would go there. And I think I'd make a real big push to get people in the chat there. I think I would make a real big push to get like Frankie from Flatbush there and just really try to get, like John from Jets Today, and he changed the name, so now I'm not going to be able to say the name of the show. But like I would try to push people to go there, like, and get as many people to go as possible. Say, let's do a road trip. We'll all stay in the same hotel. Like, we'll stay in some hotel and let's just all meet up and watch it in that bar.
That'd be sweet.
Jet fans. I think it would be the most awesome thing in the world to do.
Yeah, I got like a blow-up mattress and an extra couch, but that's about all I got. But we would make something. Actually, Payo actually did. So this is actually the Virginia Jets fans hoodie that I got on.
Oh, cool.
So, but for you, I wore this one for a reason, because I'm going to just raise it a little bit. We got the gradient look going on here. So I did that kind of like as a little ram thing for you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So I did that for you.
That's so kind of you, Adam. Thank you.
That's the closest thing I had to a ram thing. So
that's fair.
Before I highlighted that, Grandizer said something really interesting about the 90. Yeah, that was the 98 Jets team. That was one of the biggest disappointments that we experienced as Jet fans. We were beating Denver 10-0 at the end of the first half. We ended up losing the game. Then we came back next year. Everything was aligned for us. It was one of the best Jets teams we've ever had in our history. I'm not going to sit here and argue the ranking, but definitely one of the best, top 3-4 teams of our history. And Testaverde in game 1 drops back, no contact, just falls to the ground, out for the season. And it just, that's part of being a Jets fan. But I appreciate you bringing that up and acknowledging that was a great team, because it really was a great team. And don't forget,
we haven't had a team really that good since.
Yeah,
we really, in terms of all around.
Yeah,
that's the best we've seen in 24 years. Yeah, 24 years we haven't had a team that good.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yep. It was. I can't think of a better team than that, man. I love that team. So.
No, I really think when you're talking about the best Jets teams, you have to go 68, 98. After that, I mean, is it 82? I mean, who knows? It's probably 82, I guess. I mean, I wasn't really around for 82. I wasn't, I was born in 81, so I can't even remember that time. McVay got an extension.
That's no official. We know it's coming because he turned down $100 million from Amazon reportedly to go and broadcast for them. And which brings up the bigger conversation of, like, surely with these new broadcast deals, we're going to get players and coaches that are going to retire early to take that money. I'm thankful to have a coach who loves winning a lot and wants to be a great, he wants to be a legendary head coach. And so I as much as I love to think, McVay's going to coach the Rams the next 40 years until he's dead or beyond then. But the reality is, he's probably at some point going to retire and take a broadcast booth. But I see him around for at least another 5 years. That's the hope. But he'll definitely get a raise. He is definitely underpaid. He is one of the best head coaches in the NFL for so many reasons. I can go on about culture. I can go on about scheming. I can go on about putting others in a position to set them up for success. He does a great job at just managing, managing what he's supposed to do and then letting other people do their job. That's one of the reasons why so many of our coaching staff gets hired out every single year. We lost 8 coaches this year, and it just seems every year we lose coaches to other teams. And it's because McVay is a coach that other coaches want to come and coach for. So you attract coaching talent from the college level, but also from around the NFL as well.
So what you said about McVay, let's go back to that. You said that he is the type of coach who he knows what he does well, but he lets his other coaches do their job.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the kind of coach the Jets have with Robert Saleh. It's just that these guys, a lot of them are just so, they have to get their experience and whatnot, but I can see Saleh following in that kind of a mold. Well, I will ask this question as far as the Rams coaching staff goes. If they have a Ron Middleton, who would that be? Do they have a guy, if it moves, hit it? Is there do they have that one fiery guy who just gets everybody going and just comes up with all the cool sayings and stuff? Is there a mascot type of coach?
It used to be Wade Phillips, and honestly, he was a one-liner coach when he was with us, and he quietly retired. Something that's interesting about McVay's hiring is, and this is all speculation, but I've heard through the grapevine that in McVay's interview, one of the things he said is, if you hire me as head coach, I would bring Wade Phillips as my defensive coordinator. And that was like, wait, you're interviewing as a 30-year-old head coach, and you're going to bring in a 17, I think he was 72-year-old defensive coordinator or something like that. And it was just such an interesting thing. And so he was our DC for 3 years, and he did a great job. And so early on that, right now, Raheem Morris, he's a guy that the players love, and he'll get them fired up. He was our DC. But yeah, and honestly, McVay, he's kind of one of those fiery guys. When his team scores, he's jumping around on the sidelines. But I don't know specifically about a Middleton. Yeah.
So I do want to, because I haven't gotten to plug this, but I want to let people know because it's coming and it's going to happen really soon, just so everybody knows about it while you're here. I'm very close to 300 subscribers, and we are going to celebrate that. We celebrate those little milestones. Really, I mean, the people that are here are subs, so this is not really about getting more subs. It's about letting everybody know, so they're paying attention to it. So if you haven't hit the notification bell, I don't want you to miss this. When I get to the 300 subs, I'm going to be giving away 3 T-shirts. So one of those T-shirts is going to be from Green Bean Jets fan site. It's a This Ain't No Happenstance, taken from his appearance on Jets Drive, or Jets One Drive. I never say it right. One Jets Drive. And the other, or it might be his What Would Green Bean Do T-shirt, whichever you choose. The other one is going to be a Boycott the Beat. That is Matt O'Leary raising money for St. Jude, Children of St. Jude. And he's selling Boycott the Beat shirts in protest of the Main Street media who starts all these rumors, clickbait, you know the deal. I'm sure you have them on the Rams in LA, for the Rams as well. And our third shirt is going to be from Jets Talk 24/7. Ryan has a bunch of shirts to choose from on his site. So I'm going to be giving away 3 shirts. We're going to raffle it off. So I just wanted to remind everybody to make sure you're in that stream. Also, I have another thing that going that I'm going to start talking about on other channels, just so you know. 2 weeks ago, we got really close to 50. We got 35 people in the stream at the same time. I was really proud of that because of it's only 3.5 months that I've had the channel. So we're barely at 4 months, or maybe we're getting close to 4 months. And a lot of people are telling me that it's a really good accomplishment to get 35 people in the channel, which is cool. Yeah. When I hit 50, I want to celebrate that. So I have not an original. It's not worth tons of money or anything like that. I don't want to get people excited or act like it's the craziest thing in the world. But I have a Joe Namath 1989, the NFL Pro Set football set. There was a Joe Namath Hall of Fame card, like a special collector's edition of a Joe Namath. and I have tons of unopened packs from this 89 set, which I'm going to be giving out as prizes throughout time too. But one of the few packs my brother opened up had the Joe Namath card. So I'm going to give away that Joe Namath card as part of the when I hit 50 streamers. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm going to start putting that out there because it's going to be a great moment. I'm going to say we got 50, and I'm going to just do a raffle. I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 50, and we're going to give away a Joe Namath card. And I know for some people that'll be cool. I have people that are a little bit older that remember Joe Namath, and I know they're going to want to win that card. So anyway, just wanted to say that as before we wrap up, because I know we're getting to that time. And there's tons of other promotions and fun things coming that I'll be talking about. We got 2 shows coming up. We got Friday with J. Cole, the mock draft. I think 18. We got number 18 mock draft. On Sunday, we got the dueling mock draft show, the duel between me and Dom C. It'll be our second episode. We did one on Sunday. What's changed this time is I did on yesterday an off-season simulation of free agency. We cut players, we retain players, we sign new players, and we're going to take that into the draft with us on Sunday. Me and Dom C are going to use that those off-season moves to manipulate and be part of our decision-making on Sunday for the draft, to make it more realistic. So rather than do it in one big show, we're doing it in 2 different shows. I do the off-season simulator, and then we go into the mock draft on Sunday, the dueling draft. And the reason we call it a dueling draft is we rotate who picks. So I might have the first pick, and then Dom C gets the second pick, I get the third pick, and we justify our picks. But we each get control of our own picks and the final decision of our own picks. So we have all of that going on. I just wanted to get that out there and talk about that for a little bit. But before we end, but if there's anything you guys want to talk about before we go, I'm not saying we have to go this minute.
But actually, Payo, so a couple of people mentioned this in the chat. Anybody ever told you before tonight that you look a lot like Joe Douglas, our general manager?
I've never gotten that. I've gotten people say I look like Andrew Whitworth, and I'll be honest,
just darker hair.
Yeah. Ever since I, embraced the decision of just getting over insecurity and shaving my head and embracing, the bald look, I have one of those builds that people are like, hey, you look like this. And I think I have a very generic build. And people are just like, hey, have I, like, the amount of people that I meet in the grocery store or whatever who are like, hey, do I know you? And I'm like, you probably know someone who looks like me, but it's not me.
Green Bean again is asking what we're talking about. I was just talking about the 3 shirts I'm giving away, one of them being yours. This ain't no happenstance, or what would Green Bean do? So you probably shouldn't have missed that, asshole.
Maybe we should gossip about Green Bean. Like, hey, did you see that Green Bean and his channel is really cool? I don't know. Like,
it's like gossip about Green Bean. What can we say about Green Bean he hasn't already said about himself at this
point?
Well, the gossip would have been 2 days ago, before when at a point when nobody had heard from him for 5 days, so we could have started the whole rumor that Green Bean like moved to Taiwan or something, or Green Bean had family originally from the Ukraine and he went there to fight and defend the country.
Oh boy.
Oh well, do we just see here at the J. Cole show he changed his username?
Oh gosh.
Oh my God.
The origin story
Guys,
for the J. Cole show happened.
What have we done?
Wait a second. Let me let me get this. Let me get this straight. Now I'm distracted. What does that mean? I just subscribed.
He subscribed to
himself.
himself.
Did he create a new account to start his show?
He has a second account now.
Is this really happening live on my show? Like J. Cole is starting his show. Did you change your username, or did you actually create a new account for your show? And so I don't mind. It's an extra sub for me, so I don't mind.
Are we on 286 yet? No, we're still on 285 at this point. No, I'm still waiting for that.
I showed 286. Did you refresh it? Because Grandizer was made 286.
Okay. That's a new account.
Unless somebody. Oh no, I'm at 287 now, bro.
287. Yeah, 287. I got it. Yeah.
Let's go.
13 to go. 13 to go.
Thank you, J. Cole Part 2.
Yeah.
But no,
Wow.
I got some cool giveaways coming. I got some cool giveaways. I'm trying to I stepped into some stuff because my brother's moving and that he didn't want. And I said, would you be offended if instead of, because he said, sell it if you want, make some money. And I said, would you be offended if instead of selling it, I give it away and help build up my channel and use it as, to lure people and want to win raffles and show appreciation to my followers? And he said, fine, go ahead and do that. But what I like about the 300 subscriber thing is I want to start giving away things when it's my people that have supported me from the beginnings, like winning, because not to sound cocky, but I'm being confident. I'm going to keep pushing and persevering until the channel gets much bigger. And then it's going to be harder for them to win because there's going to be more people and less chance. And I want to make sure the people that are helping me do this are rewarded. You know what I mean? And I get to give back to them. So I'm really hopeful that we'll get to give away a bunch of things to these guys right here. Like, these people that you're seeing, like Dark Soldier and Rusty Spooner and J. Cole and Tony G and, John the Postman, all these people, not Green Bean. He's not eligible to win. Iowa Jets fan is eligible to win, but he's pushing his luck.
Now show, I'm going to take over the world.
It always turns into I'm going to take over the world.
What have we done on this Wednesday evening? Oh dear.
I'm blaming Jeremy. Man, you do the J. Cole show. Be you.
Yeah.
Be you, man. It's going to go viral.
Give me the next
Yeah, I think we can rewind. We can get the clip of that. Yeah, that's going to be the intro to every J. Cole show is Jeremy encouraging him and said, this is how it all started.
But I'll tell you, there's a guy on Instagram, I forgot his name, who goes into all the good restaurants in New York. And he's like, yo, forget about it. Hey, mozzarella, fresh mozzarella, the best pizza. I'm telling you, he has thousands and thousands of followers.
I should have been doing that this past weekend while I was there.
I'm telling you, the guy is amazing. And I'm telling you, it's like J. Cole reminds me of that. Like, it's just, the guy is just being himself. It was an accident. He's a construction worker who just started doing it. And it went viral, man. People love it. They can't stop watching this guy. He'll go into like an Italian pork store. He'll be going, they got the pork, they got the provolone, they got the spaghetti. Like, he's just
the provolone. Oh, God. That's right there,
I could just see people.
Right there, they're fugazi.
Just J. Cole just like living life. He could just do anything to show. Imagine him what he acts like in a restaurant to the waiter. Hey, come on here. Hey,
yeah, the waiter's like, here's the children's menu. Here you go.
What is this? He is a walking reality show. I'm posting that video of Jeremy inspiring my.
He would have fit in on the Jersey Shore back in the day. J. Cole in the situation. Can't you just see it?
You know what? If it happens, I'll be so proud because I just.
I'm excited for when the spin-off shows happen, like the J. Cole cooking show or like the J. Cole,
I'll take care of the cooking. I got that part.
Like the animal adoption campaign and all the stuff that will come because of it.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can't wait to do that potential live show later in the year. So can you imagine? It'd be really great is if you hit like one of those milestones, 300, 400, whatever it might be, in June when we're hanging together in Carolina, because then we could do some sort of celebration like on camera. Maybe we can find some Carolina hot sauce down there. You never know.
Let's hope by June it's like 600 or 700. I'm running out of time, man. I was going to donate an extra $100 to St. Jude if I hit 500 subscribers by March 30th, but I can't see how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless I have like a little viral burst or something. It's not looking good. I thought because Matt O'Leary talked about it, he put it on his show, and I thought, oh my God, he has thousands of subs. Maybe it'll happen. Apparently, clicking a subscribe button to help the kids of St. Jude wasn't enough.
There's only one thing that could do it. J. Cole's got to go viral and credit you every single time.
That's right. Yeah. Right. J. Cole can get me there. He's got to go viral. That's what's gonna make it happen.
Love it.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Anyhow, guys, thank you so much. I want to thank PayoTime for coming on. It was you said it was your honor in the beginning. It was definitely my honor.
Oh, you guys are awesome. This was a blast and a half. Oh man.
A fan of your channel. Anybody who hasn't subscribed, if you've been watching all this time, you must go to PayoTime and subscribe. He does watching him like when and the Rams play opposite the Jets a lot. Watching him do his watch parties is so much fun. His videos are great. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's just a great channel. You should definitely check it out. And I appreciate Adam, I really picked up the quality of this show. So I'm really grateful to you. You've been a big part of the growth of this channel in the past month. So you know that's appreciated. And of course, I thank everybody in the chat. You're the guys that make this happen. It would be just three guys looking at a camera and talking to themselves on camera for no reason if it wasn't.
It'd still be just as ridiculous. We just wouldn't have as much inspiration.
So chat, you were the stars tonight.
Yeah. The chat is always the stars. I'm glad we got some new friends tonight. It's always fun when that happens. And hey, PayoTime, when you're ready to do a draft, let me know. We'll do a Rams Jets draft together.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. Let us get a little into free agency. Later in March, early April. We'll make it happen for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll maybe have you come over on my channel to do the draft because I know the Ramley would love to get a little bit of the NFL chaos.
The Ramley.
Oh, dude, you just let me know I'm there. You let me know I'm there.
I never heard that
one. On your channel. That would be exciting to be on your channel. So.
I'm telling you, the Rams fan base, we are one of the more disrespected fan bases, and there's reasons for that. I accept that, but no, the Ramley's growing. Okay.
Good night, Green Bean. Good to see what they look like. Yeah. Yeah, it's always fun when Green Bean stops by, whether he's on the channel or just in the chat. It's always exciting. He's pretty much probably over 90% of my subs are Green Bean people. So it's always cool because it's like exciting for everybody to talk to him in the chat. I know I love it when he shows up somewhere else and I'm in the chat. So appreciate it. I appreciate his support. I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am without Green Bean. So he is definitely the man. And what's this? NFL chaos for Jeremy. I wrote that 20 minutes ago, man.
Hey, we were on a roll. What do you want from us?
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's not like Green Bean's ever fallen behind in the chat before. That's never happened.
That's so funny. All right. So, hey, again, thanks for coming. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being in the chat. I will leave you with this, and I will see most of you on when will I see most of you? I'll see most of you on Friday night, but we will make sure you watch Green Bean Show tomorrow. He has a great show lined up tomorrow. Go to Green Bean Jets Fan. Everybody knows me and Adam will be in the back room. You'll definitely see Adam come and do some trivia. You may see me, you may not. That's the fun part of it. You never know when I might make an appearance on that show. But either way, I will be in the back. And if you give him super chats, I will make sure that they get read. So everybody take care. Have a good one. I will leave you with this. I would regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
One of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Aquanu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold? Or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today. You can't get rid of him.
Right. It's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Hey, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
What would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a